West Ham United are set to sign Brazilian centre-back Luizao from Sao Paulo. That's according to South American journalist Andre Hernan. Now, there's been a lot of reports about this, but it all comes back to that one report from Andre Hernan. It's the spider web effect, as I call it. One person does a report, it turns into 5, it turns into 10, turns into 20, and by the time you're on the outside of the spider's web, they're almost passing the news off as their own, but it all comes back to Andre Hernan, and it's Chinese whispers. Again, recently, in the last couple of days, the reports are West Ham have signed Luizao, but Andre Hernan's reports are the ones I'm going with, which are West Ham are set to sign him, probably sign him. It's not quite done yet, and the reason it's not quite done yet is because there's uncertainty over which deal is going to occur. There's two possibilities. So the first possibility is the traditional transfer. 1st of January comes around, we purchase him from Sao Paulo. Happy days. And that's the option that the centre-back would prefer. But the second one, if the clubs can't agree terms, that we could sign him on a pre-contract. His contract expires on the 31st of January 2023. So come the 1st of February, he would officially become a West Ham United player on a free transfer. However, the reason there's uncertainty is because the player himself, Luizao, he's the one that actually wants West Ham to buy him from Sao Paulo. He doesn't want to leave the club high and dry and walk out and the club gets no financial contribution from the Hammers. He wants to be purchased, but at the minute, according to Andre Hernan, no deal has been agreed or is likely to be agreed. There was some negotiations over regarding how many appearances Luizao plays to trigger a payment for West Ham, but I don't think West Ham are keen on the deal for whatever reason. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it makes sense from West Ham's point of view, doesn't it? Why would we pay for him when we could get him on a free a month later? It's a bit of a strange one. But what I will say, fair play to Luizao, just having that sort of loyalty. I say loyalty, he's a way to walk out the club, but just having that consideration of the club he's departing, not just walking out on a free and saying stuff you, you're getting nothing. I feel a bit sorry for Sao Paulo to some extent because they lost Marquinhos in the summer, didn't they? Arsenal wanted him, wouldn't sign a new deal, so they had to sell him for $3 million, and it looks like a bargain so far and what we've seen in glimpses from him at Arsenal. So they look set to lose a second youngster, a highly thought of youngster as well. In order to sort of try and validate the claims of Andre Hernan, I had a little look at their Twitter account at the weekend in their previous game, and he was on the bench. So I was trying to read what people were saying, and obviously I have something to use Google to translate Portuguese to English, so there could be a little bit lost in translation. But the vibe, the general mood was the same over two things. A, why the hell is he not in the team? Even if he's leaving, the fans were not happy he was on the bench. But the fact that he's on the bench would possibly insinuate that he's likely to leave. And B, the fans weren't happy that he's likely to leave. And they were a bit upset, actually. He seems to be held in high regard amongst the fan base. And there was a few tweets that a little bit vicious. I hope he gets injured kind of tweets. Let's just leave it there. So the vibe from the fans would almost back up what Andre is saying. So in South America, I think there is a belief that Luizao will leave Sao Paulo and likely join West Ham. Now, he was strongly linked to Fulham back in the summer, so he's been on the radar of Premier League clubs for a few months now. Who is he? A 20-year-old Brazilian centre-back, left-footed centre-back as well. I know what you're all thinking. Is this Ogbona's long-term replacement? We'll have to wait and see. I'd be surprised if we did sign him, hypothetically, if we signed him. I would be surprised if we saw him in the first team anytime soon. I'd imagine that this is somebody we're looking to sign, put him in the under-21s for a season or two, let him settle into English football, let him settle into England, possibly loan him out to get experience, get him ready for first team action, and then slowly integrate him into the team. Because 20 years old is still quite young for a centre-back in the Premier League. However, he does have good experience under his belt for his age. In regards to him, I've never heard of him until about 2 weeks ago when the name appeared in a group chat linking West Ham to him from Andre Hernan. So I've sort of been keeping an eye on the rumour, and like I said, it does spiral out of control and becomes a little bit Chinese whispers by the end of it. Someone could report, oh, this player's set to be on 30 grand. 2 weeks later, the player would probably be on 50 grand just by inaccurate reporting. So anyway, one to keep an eye on for West Ham fans. As I said, it looks like it's uncertain as to which type of deal will take place, but there's a strong feeling from the Sao Paulo fan base that he will become West Ham United player as well. Now, moving on to Vladimir Coufal. Actually, before we talk about Coufal possibly joining Bayer Leverkusen and why I think it's a load of rubbish, however, perhaps not Coufal leaving, it's 12 days of Christmas at Hamish Chat. Day 1 was yesterday, which is the player ratings book for free. At the time of recording, I think there's 3 left. So if you want one, check out yesterday's video with Gonzo. At the very start, he tells you how to get your hands on it. But today's offer, day 2 of 12 days of Christmas, is the West Ham Massive Hamish Chat, a relatively small mug, for £5. All our mugs are usually £10, but for today and today only, so until 8:30 tomorrow morning, this offer comes down. This mug is £5. If you want to head over to our store and add it to your basket, the discount will automatically be applied and you'll get the mug for a £5. We'll be back tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning with the next offer. We've got some good offers coming up, but anyway, that's today's offer. If you want that mug, you can have it for a £5 for today and briefly tomorrow morning only. Now, shall we talk about Vladimir Coufal? Well, I'm going to talk about Vladimir Coufal. Whether you talk about him or not is up to you. So last week, perhaps randomly, I mean, you think being linked... Oh, I forgot to say. The thing that adds a little bit of kudos to that Luizao transfer rumour. Rob Newman was in Brazil, weren't he? I spoke about that last week. We've got photographic evidence that he was in Brazil and that he handed over last season's home shirt to save a few quid for West Ham. But Rob Newman was in Brazil last week as well, and the reports were it was to set up a scouting network. But perhaps, maybe, just maybe, he was there to also try and get this deal sorted and purchase Luizao. It could be 2 and 2 equals 5. It could also be 2 and 2 equals 4. So there you go. Another layer of kudos to the transfer rumour from Andre. Now, moving on to the Vladimir Coufal one. So, you thought that Brazilian one was random. This is even more random. Coufal being linked to Bayer Leverkusen. Now, let's split that up first of all. Let's split it into Coufal perhaps leaving West Ham and Coufal joining Bayer Leverkusen. It's 2 different things. So, him leaving, it's possible. I think it's feasible because of the circumstances. We know his contract currently ends at the end of this season. So on the 1st of January, he can sign a pre-contract with anybody outside England for free and join them at the end of the season on a free transfer. No fee involved. Unlucky West Ham. You've now got players leaving for the next 5 months of your season. So that is perhaps part of the reason that we could look to sell Coufal. In the last few games, Thilo Kehrer has played right back. That is an indication that Coufal is no longer David Moyes' first choice right back. So he's dropped down the pecking order. His contract's running up. He's the wrong side of 30. His form's not been particularly great either. So there's lots of reasons as to why actually Coufal leaving is feasible, actually. Also, the club do have a clause on Vladimir Coufal's contract. However, the problem is it's 2 years. If we trigger it today, instead of expiring in the summer of 2023, his contract will expire in the summer of 2025. And I think that's a big commitment from West Ham. And I'll be honest, I don't want to see us trigger it. If it was a 1-year one, I'd imagine the club might be a little bit tempted because they've apparently triggered Alan Creswell's clause. Now, we'll talk about that next week on a video on its own because I think it's a bigger one. I think it's a bit more newsworthy. But the club have triggered Alan Creswell's clause already, but they haven't triggered Vladimir Coufal. Now, I know what you may suggest. Maybe they have and we don't know about it. These types of things get leaked. Creswell has been leaked. No official announcement by West Ham. Last season, Ogbonna, the fact that he had been given a new 1-year deal was leaked. There was never any official announcement for West Ham. He just turned up again this season, but we all knew. Fabianski, contract got extended. We knew months before the club announced it. Ben Johnson had a 2-year clause triggered last season. No official announcement. Well, eventually, but we already knew about it. So these things do get leaked, and there's been absolutely not even a whisper that Vladimir Coufal's contract has been triggered with that clause. We've got a month and a half to decide, otherwise he can start negotiating with other clubs. So Coufal leaving in January, I think it's possible. How much money would we get? A couple of million, given the circumstances of his contract, his age, his form. 2 million maybe. But I can see why the club would do it. I can see why. I'll get onto that in a second. As for Bayer Leverkusen, nah. He's not going. They don't need him. I'd be shocked if they wanted him. Unlike French football, don't mind a bit of Bundesliga action. And certainly in recent weeks they've been playing 3 at back with wing backs. And they've got one of their best right wing backs in football. certainly one of the best youngsters in football in Frimpong. He is unbelievable. What an absolute talent. It's tempting to say what an upcoming young player we've got here. He's not that anymore. He's an established first team player now. He won't be at Leverkusen for much longer. There'll be bigger clubs already watching him, looking at him, purchasing him. But he's been playing right wing back in recent weeks, and he's levels ahead of Coufal. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe he'll be back up, Gio. Maybe that's what we're looking for. Well, do you remember Fosu Mensah from Manchester United? That is the backup. And he's okay. He's nowhere near as good as Frimpong, but he's alright. He's doing an okay job when he's been called upon. I've only seen him once, I think twice maybe this season, Fosu Mensah that is. And he's been fine in those games. I just don't see why Leverkusen would need Coufal. And let's go back to that. Leverkusen at the minute are playing with wing-backs. I think Coufal's a much better full-back, just right-back, than he is right wing-back. Offensively, he's not got it. He's not got that ability in the final third. His crossing accuracy is not good enough. I seen a stat last week or the week before. It was the top 5 crossers in the Premier Leagues in terms of quantity, and Coufal was 5th. But next to each player was accuracy, and he was quite far behind the other 4. I think it was maybe 18% or something. You'll have to check that. I'm guessing from memory here. It was about 18%. So 1 in 5 crosses would meet a West Ham player. It's not a great number. I think the top one was 40% or something, and Coufal was down at 18. Anyway, so Coufal to Leverkusen, I don't see it. Coufal leaving West Ham, it makes sense. It does make sense, and I actually hope it's something that we do, because the right back situation, the right back position, is a huge weakness for us this season. It's an alarming weakness as well, and we need it rectified. And I think we need it rectified in January. You know, in an ideal situation, we say let's wait till the summer. Let's get loads of scouting done, identify 3 or 4 possibilities, scout them, then pick our number 1 target, and in the summer go after them. But I'm not even sure we can do that. I think it's that big a weakness and needs sorted ASAP, and substantially as well. However, the club could do it without spending too much money. Vlasic, we're led to believe Torino are going to purchase him in January for that 12.6 million. Why would they trigger the clause early? I don't know. If you can wait till the summer, why would he could break his leg in March or something? I appreciate it's unlikely. Statistically, the probability is really low, but something could occur that puts them off. So why they would do it in January, I don't know. The only guess I could come up with is that West Ham are prepared to offer them a bit of a discount. You know, instead of 12.9 or whatever, we'll do it for trial. We'll give you £1 million off if you buy him in January. Don't know. That's my guess. But if he was to leave, Coufal was to go for a couple of million, and Harrison Ashby was to go, again, cover that next week, for a couple of million. All of a sudden, West Ham have raised over 15 million, and we've only sold 1 player. We've sold 3, but we've only sold 1 player that's involved in the squad this season. Vlasic ain't here, and Ashby's not been in the squad enough to be considered a squad player, in my opinion. So we'd only really be getting rid of Coufal, raising 15 million, and we're able to go replace Coufal with 50 million. I think it's necessary. I do think it's necessary. So Coufal leaving, perhaps. To Leverkusen, no chance. Luizao, very possible. Keep your eye on that one. But from what Andre Hernan is saying, not, you know, the outsides of the spider web. Anyway, I'm going to disappear, but I'll be back later on tonight. I've got an opposition preview with a Leicester City fan and a former Leicester City player as well, to get his thoughts ahead of the game tomorrow. But like I said, if you fancy grabbing this mug for half price, links in the description and the pinned comments. I'll catch you in a bit.